I will tell you that I tried to get, I looked into hiring a helicopter to deliver trail making supplies up there. $10,000.
You gotta get the mules.
For $10,000, I could buy all the mules I wanted, but yes.
Okay, very good. Ready? All right, well, welcome to the Planning Commission meeting of May 19th. We will start with roll call.
Chair Pevsner.
Here.
Vice Chair Dennison.
Here.
Commissioners Dallas, Hutt,
Here.
and Spears.
Present.
Wonderful, thank you. Approval of the agenda.
Move we approve as presented?
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Passes unanimously. Approval of the minutes of May 5th. Anybody changes or additions or clarifications?
No corrections.
I move we accept as presented?
I'll second.
Those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Just waiting to make sure Bob didn't have any changes.
No,
Okay. Council liaison report in absentia or online or something? No? Okay, move on. All right, community input. This is a time when anybody can come before the Planning Commission to speak on something that is not on tonight's agenda. Since there's not a whole lot of people, I'll give you 5 minutes. How's that?
Thank you, I'll need 5 minutes.
Go ahead.
Susan Newhausen, 491 Grove Street. Sent you a couple of different emails, but today I just want to talk to you about part 1 of the one you got later. But I did have something I thought I potentially want to correct on the minutes. But anyways, I want to thank Mr. Gonzalez and the city staff for uploading the presentations of the city. That's very helpful. And so I want to talk about the specific plan a little bit, since it's not being deliberated today. As you're aware, the memo of understanding states that, quote, the city is willing to consider homes in excess of standard measurements in exchange for single-family homes. It says in excess, not excessive, which is what is being proposed. Mr. Gonzalez in the May 5th meeting provided a table on page 12 of the lot sizes and the maximum allowable gross floor square footage, which was defined on page 10. And it's measured, as you know, from exterior walls, includes any part of the structure with the roof, thus including garages, covered porches, decks, internal staircases. New Urban West is only providing the floor area, again defined on page 10. And as you all have pointed out, New Urban West needs to calculate the maximum gross floor area and height calculation based on the Sierra Madre Municipal Code definition. So of the 42 lots, 75% of them are actually 9,400 square feet or smaller, or 9,300 square feet or smaller. And based on what was said at the last meeting, it seems like the lot sizes are potentially even smaller, as they seem to include the HOA community areas abutting the roads. So thus, the vast majority of the lots are 9,256 square feet or less. The gross floor plan of those houses is 2,256 to 2,400 square feet, according to the city stature. So if you then take out the exterior walls, which you could say are 9 inches rather than 12 inches, and if there are no covered porches, decks, the maximum calculated floor area then would be approximately 1,650 to 1,800 square feet. However, the specific plan states that the minimum floor area is 2,700 square feet, and the maximum is 4,350. So all of those houses far exceed what's allowed on any of the lot sizes, except on the 2,100 square foot lot, they could build a house a maximum of approximately 3,100 square foot floor area. So all told, the proposed size houses are a minimum of 67% larger than allowed by the municipal code. And depending on which size houses can be built on a particular lot, they could easily be more than 100% larger than allowed under the Sierra Madre Municipal Code. So to me, this is excessive. It's unfair to the rest of the homeowners of Sierra Madre, who've had to comply with a much stricter standard, and it should be considered unacceptable as it violates the general plan, as does the fact that the vast majority of the houses will be 2-story as compared to only 10% in the adjacent neighborhood. And then I have a little something about fire danger, and something about the sustainability in terms of electricity. But what I want to actually mention is that it's not on there. You know, I understand your frustrations that you haven't been able to deliberate on the Meadows project and that you've had all these public comments. And so please understand my frustration that to me, Mr. Frankel's had unfettered access to you. You know, he was able to present his position for more than 2 hours while you toured the Monte de la Rosa property. So I'd like to ask that you leave time at the end of meetings, after you've deliberated, for relevant public comments on what you've discussed. And or possibly provide us with 1 to 2 hours to actually present, you know, sort of our position where it's not a piecemeal kind of, you know, 2 to 3 minute presentation. So, you know, we residents of Sierra Madre, we're the ones that have to live with the construction. I live right up there. I'm really living with the construction and what's going to happen and long-term consequences of the project. And, you know, just a reminder, New Urban West is going to be gone, and, you know, we're all going to suffer the consequences. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening, Commissioners. Deb Sheridan, Valley Vista Drive. I wanted to make sure that the record was set straight. Commissioner Dallas, last time you met, she had asked about the timelines for the draft EIR and the final EIR. The draft EIR was 60 days and overlapped the time limit for us to respond to the changes in the general plan. We had no time at all to respond to the final EIR. This was not allowed. You commissioners are bearing the brunt of this as you hear the errors and omissions in the final EIR from the residents. Also, as you have heard, quite a few residents have found this to be unacceptable for such a large project with so many errors. You have heard what we feel would be workable solutions: allow public comment, as was just mentioned, allow second opinions from experts not paid for by New Urban West. I would also suggest that you commissioners ask for, as Commissioner Spears had alluded to, that New Urban West put up story polls to see how massive and how close together these homes will actually be. I do thank you, as always, for performing the thankless and probably stressful job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Bruce Bainbridge. I live at 685 West Sierra Madre Boulevard. And it wasn't actually what I want to talk about, but I did want to cast a vote in favor of the development that has been presented by the monastery. I think it's well thought through. I think it's the least traffic impending or impinging of the developments that they have potentially looked at. And I like the way they presented it. I came from a neighborhood that had 57 homes developed in a much smaller area, and with the same, oh, and we can't have this, you know, it's going to ruin and in actuality, the traffic that was presented by the homes had very little effect in the long run. So that's my quick thought on that. What I wanted to talk about tonight is there are 4 city trash cans that were by the bus stops on West Sierra Madre Boulevard between Michelin and
Sunnyside.
Sunnyside, thank you. Oh, thank you. So I'm presuming you know about this. And there was no explanation. I did come down and talk to somebody the other day, and he said, well, there was a lot of trash in them, and it was more than we felt should be in there, and so we took them away. And didn't seem like exactly the best. Now, I'm sure that's my hearing of what he said, but I did want to express that, you know, now I'm seeing more trash by the bus stops, and if I were to guess why there was more trash there than at some of the other bus stops, I would say it has to do with LaSalle. I see there are students coming out of there, and I'm not, being hypercritical of LaSalle, but high school students just aren't that careful in general with their trash. And I'm not sure that punishing or taking them away was the best solution. So I'd like you to look for other solutions that might put that back. Not as much for me as in the neighborhood. I have my trash at home, but the bus stops, I'm not sure why the people at the bus stop don't deserve to have a trash can. So.
I can spread a little information on that. There are no more bus stops. Micro Metro has replaced so when they removed the bus stops, they removed all the accoutrements that went with them. You'll notice at Sunnyside, there used to be a little gazebo thing that was over the benches. And so the 3 of those in this town are gone, and they took away the trash cans because there's nobody getting out of buses. But I'm sure that if you approach the Director of Public Works, he will hear your request.
Yeah, it seems like
Thank you very much.
the trash cans went with the bus, huh?
Yeah.
Do you know what happened to those benches? Should I talk to the Director of City Works about those?
The benches are still there.
No, that they replaced the old benches inside the gazebos with the ones that
That you've been, okay.
that I've been doing. But
I need to talk to you after this.
fine.
And they're very nice benches that you
Oh, my
replaced.
gosh.
Thank you.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, fine, we'll then close public comment and move on to our agenda item. This is a variance for discretionary demolition permit, request to allow construction of additions with reduced setbacks to a structure built on 1941, built in 1941, located on 674 West Montecito Avenue.
We have a PowerPoint presentation by Associate Planner Wolf.
Thank you. Evening.
Should always sit at the dais.
Go ahead and sit over here.
Come on down.
Okay, apologies for that. Tonight, the commission will be reviewing 674 West Montecito Avenue, the applications for variance 2201 and discretionary demolition permit 2202. Might be too far away.
Maybe it's the night of technical issues.
I think we're full.
Nope, I got it. Yeah, it should be working. So the property is located at 674 West Montecito, near the intersections of Michelinda and Sunnyside. It is a residential low density land use with a 1-family residential zone. It is 11,400 square feet in size, and it is located in a neighborhood of mixed uses, including institutional, commercial, and multifamily. The applicant is requesting a variance from the side yard and cumulative side yard setback requirements to accommodate the proposed additions to the single-family residence, as well as an alteration to modify the structure built more than 75 years prior to the filing date of the application. Here you can see the photographs. On the top left is of the northeast corner of the building. On the top right is of the northwest corner. This is the little yellow building we're looking at. And on the bottom left, starting from the bottom left, is the rear-facing garage. It is entered from the rear, so a U-turn is necessary to park a car. Moving on to the right is the rear patio, and then to the right is the southeast corner of the structure. So just to go over the project summary, the lot size is 11,400. There's no change proposed. Lot coverage is 18%, proposed at 30.9%. Building height currently at 16 feet, proposed at 16 feet 4 inches at a single story. Gross floor area currently at 1857, proposed at 2924, where the maximum allowable is 3548. Setbacks at the front currently is 32 feet 3 inches. There is no change proposed to the front yard setback, where it currently is required at 25 feet or prevailing front yard setback. At the sides, where the variance is requested, cumulative is currently 52 feet 5 inches. Proposed cumulatively is 21 feet 4 inches. Code requires 36 feet, or if reduced to 20% cumulative would be 24 feet. The east elevation exists at, the east setback exists at 26 feet 3 inches, proposed at 5 foot 10 inches, where a minimum is required at 10 feet. On the west, currently is 25 feet 11 inches, proposed at 15 feet 6 inches, where the minimum is 10 feet. The rear is currently 18 feet 9 inches. There is no change proposed. The addition does align to that current rear setback. Parking, 2 covered spaces is currently existing. 2 covered spaces is proposed with the new garage, where the requirement is 2 spaces. So here you can see the site plan. This is as it exists today. Moving on to the proposed, you can see how the additions expand the residence at single story, where the side setback, especially for the variance here, is on the east side at 5 feet 10 inches, nearby an adjacent residence. On the other side is 15 feet 6 inches. This is where the driveway was. And you'll notice that between the existing and the proposed, the driveway approach is being closed and proposed to be opened up on the east side. Here is the existing floor plan. Highlighted in yellow is the areas planned for remodel. That would be the garage, one of the bathrooms and closets, the sunroom, and the kitchen. The proposed is to remodel the garage to an ADU, add a master suite with the bathroom attached to the ADU, remodel of the bathroom, remodel of the sunroom, moving the kitchen southward for expansion with a laundry room, expanding the dining and allowing for a pantry, and the addition of a garage. Here is the north elevation. On top is the existing, and below that is the proposed. And I've diagrammed out here where the setbacks are. You can see that for the garage on the north elevation, it is 5 feet 10 inches away from the property line. On the other side is 15 feet 6 inches away from its property line. And of concern where that variance is requested, it is within the angle plane. Here are the west elevations. Again, on top is the existing, and below that is the proposed. And also shown here is the adjacent building. This adjacent one is to the south. This is an R3 duplex. And here you can see where the ADU would be located. It doesn't really change the profile here because all expansions are kind of going outward in other directions. Here is the south elevation. And as you can see, the garage is completely remodeled to accommodate the ADU, but in front of the ADU would be where the master suite is located. And to the right of that would be the additions for the kitchen and laundry. And importantly here, you can see that the kitchen and the laundry room is 15 feet 11 inches away from that property line. The garage is the only portion of the building that is 5 feet 10 inches away from the building, or from the property line. On the east elevation, you can see where the changes occur between existing and proposed, where the expansions for the kitchen and laundry room occur, and where the garage would be located, with a door facing out towards the side. The only window on this location, which is 15 feet 11 inches away, is a high sill privacy window for the bathroom near the laundry room. And of note, the side that you see here on the right side of the proposed east elevation is a window, but it is more than 25 feet setback from the property line at the side. Here are the proposed materials and colors. I'm not going to go too into detail about this because we're not really reviewing this in the scope of a design review permit. For the variance, I asked the applicant to get a study of all of the adjacent properties setbacks from their side. And as you can see, moving from from west to east along Montecito with all the R1 properties, we're seeing a pretty well average of around 5 feet, small side yard setbacks, with the exception of 612 Montecito, which is a structure spanning 2 properties, one of which is vacant. And also shown here for reference is the institutional property. This is a church. And also adjacent is the R3 with each building footprint shown. This is a duplex for each footprint. So in findings for variance, first, the variance for the reduced side yard and cumulative side yard setback requirements do not constitute a grant of special privileges because the proposed setbacks are similar to other R1 developments on the same block face of the subject property. The proposal maintains and enhances the residential single-family land use. Therefore, variance does not authorize a use not expressly prohibited in the residential single-family zone. The shape and size of the property constitute special circumstances in that it is wider than it is deep, unique to the neighborhood, consisting primarily of properties that are deeper than they are wide. The granting of the variance facilitates the reasonable use of the land to be maintained and expanded as a single-family residential use, where the attached garage is proposed with a setback of 5'10", requiring variance, and that such a setback would be permissible if the garage were detached. But the shallow depth in the property makes home expansion towards the rear infeasible. The variance is consistent with the general plan in that it meets objectives L1, policy L1.5, and objective L6, policies 6.1 and 3. For a discretionary demolition permit, a historic evaluation report concludes that the property is not eligible for listing as a local historical landmark. For demolition, a waste management plan is to be approved by Public Works Department and will be prepared to comply with all requirements for demolition. The demolition of the exterior walls is necessary to accommodate the expansion of the home's interior floor space. The demolition will not incur change of use on the property. The project maintains use as a single-family residence, conforming with the development standards of the municipal code and goals and objectives of the general plan. Demolition activity will meet requirements of the California Building Code and city's fire and zoning codes. Tonight, the Planning Commission may approve Planning Commission Resolution 22-15. This grants approval of Variance 2201 and Discretionary Demolition Permit 2202, which are requests to allow construction of additions with reduced setbacks to a structure which was built in 1941. They may approve Planning Commission Resolution 22-15 with modifications. They may deny the request, identifying findings that the Planning Commission cannot make and the basis for rejecting those findings, or they may continue the subject project and provide direction to the applicant and staff. The recommendation is to approve Planning Commission Resolution 22-15 as presented. That concludes my presentation. I am open for questions. Our applicant and architect are here tonight to also answer any questions you may have.
Questions?
Yeah, I have one question. The ADU, which is attached, has a door that goes into the house. So I'm wondering if, and on some of the plans it's labeled as music room instead of ADU. So I'm wondering, no, number one, do we have any rules or regulations about whether we can have access, internal access between the house and the ADU as opposed to going in through the front door of the ADU? And would it change the processing of this application if it weren't an ADU and it was just, you know, another room, and a bedroom or music room or anything like that?
I believe it would change the processing. It may then require a 3-car garage. I'm not 100% sure about that, but that could be the conclusion. Regarding access between the ADU and the primary residence, as long as there's a door closable. I've had these conversations with a representative from HCD about this, if we needed full independency between the two adjacent structures. No, they say that there's no definition for that, so a doorway is permissible.
Okay, so as long as you can close and lock the door, that's good enough?
Yes.
Okay.
And I believe that state law does require that that the ADU have external access, so there's a door between the ADU and the house, and there's also a door that leads outside.
That is
separate
correct.
door.
I think on the parking, I thought we had 2 parking up to 3,500, and even with the ADU, it's under that, isn't it? Or, I guess, is the square footage include the ADU that you showed on the chart?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Questions, Bob? No?
Does that ADU still count for arena numbers?
Yes.
Okay. Tom? No? I have a devil's advocate question. If the garage was the ADU, which the setback would then be met by ADU standards and the garage stayed the garage, would we be having a variance for that setback? Probably not, right? Is that?
No, garage, or I'm sorry, an ADU, if
Well,
the proposed garage were an ADU instead,
Yeah.
yeah, it's permitted as little as 4 feet away from the
Yeah,
side.
that's what I'm asking a rhetorical question just because I look at the design, but I have a different take. I mean, it's a nice design, so, okay, good. Do we have anybody, the architect, want to say anything about the design, the property? I actually had a question, and you might want to, sorry, Karen, thanks. Or the client, about the weird shape of the lot. How did it get that way? What's the history? Anybody?
How did it get that way?
Well, I mean, just, do you?
That way? Oh, he does, he does.
I'd like to know.
First of all, thank you very much for the time that you're putting into all of this. We really do appreciate it. My wife Maria and I, we have lived there at 674 West Montecito since 1995. We just retired a year and a half ago, or not a year and a half ago. We're lifetime educators. I was a principal. My wife was vice principal. We're combined 80 years. And we have found that in retirement, we're bumping into each other in the kitchen, and we love being together, but it is kind of crowded. So the nice thing about the garage on the outside there is the garage will now be right next to the kitchen. And we're really looking forward to it. In terms of why the property is such as it is, the condominium complex that was built behind, actually before, right now our property is 95 feet back. Before, I believe it went 120 or something.
Oh,
to
so
the next
okay.
telephone pole. 200, so it was big.
So it got subdivided at some point
Exactly.
after 41.
To build those condominiums.
Ah.
And they're very close to us there.
Okay, interesting. Thank you.
Sure.
But we have great condominiums.
Great neighbors.
And great neighbors as well.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
Something about the ADU and the music room and why it's one sometimes and another time. Sorry. I mentioned to the commissioner that during retirement, Dave has learned to play the drums. And so, yes, that's they know. And so.
And they ain't electric,
Given
right?
us a soundproof ADU
Mm.
so that he can play the drums and be in there, have a
Okay.
cup of coffee or whatever he wants.
I'm a photographer, so in a nice studio, amateur photographer.
Yeah. And if you rented it out, it would be nice and quiet, right? Because then you wouldn't, okay.
Yes, for everyone's concern.
You mentioned the garage being next to the kitchen. Can you explain more about that? The reason I'm asking is that, as was mentioned earlier by the commission, if you would have flipped the garage and the ADU, you wouldn't have needed a variance.
Right. So, I mean, if we had the garage on the other side, it would have been much more inconvenient. Obviously, you come back from the store, gotta walk all the groceries all the way across to the kitchen, which is kind of what we do right now. So it'll make it much more convenient for us.
I think the placement of the ADU too works really well if it's used as an ADU, because there's an exterior door from the front porch. So if you go onto the front porch, you turn one way and you go into the main house. If you go the other way, you go into the ADU. So from a layout perspective, it actually works way better for that too. So, yeah.
It looks like it was designed to be something that there's currently a door into the garage right there.
Is the whole house on slab?
No, actually, we have.
They have a basement.
We have a little basement.
Yeah.
It's 10, very small.
There's my
About 10
disclosure, I
feet
didn't
by
go there.
10 feet, I
It's
think.
really, really small.
That's where we have our hot water heater and.
Oh.
our air conditioner.
Total California.
My house was built in 41. It's about 10 by 10 and you drop down a trap door. Yeah. Oh,
Very
oh, gosh. Okay. At least you have a stairs. I just had a trap door and
And then it's, I don't know what the term is, but it's not a slab, and it's bolted to the foundation. That's
It's
my-
a roof.
okay. All right, good. Thank you. I'm good. Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Anyone in the audience want to speak on this project? Okay, great. And we'll close the public comment section and we'll come back to the commission for deliberation. Thoughts or? I didn't go there, obviously. I didn't see the basement like you guys, so you guys.
I'll start if you want.
Okay, go ahead, Bob.
So, full disclosure that I have a project underway with the same architect, but I did go to the house on Montecito. I walked around and looked. I did ask the applicant if they would be willing to put in a sidewalk, because if you go there now, that's the one house on the street that doesn't have a sidewalk. And my concern was for people with disabilities, getting back and forth. And also, sidewalks in Sierra Madre make the town a walkable city and make everything more accessible. So she agreed. Hopefully they still do agree that, and part of since they're pouring a lot of concrete for the new driveway, they're going to pour a sidewalk as well. Other than that, the size of the lot, and the layout of the lot does make it a kind of a challenge on how to shoehorn the project in. They're surrounded by multi-story buildings. You really have the sense that this is a one-story building when you go into the backyard, because everything you see is up. But they've coped well with it. The setbacks, I don't think, are going to be a big deal. As was pointed out, if the garage was detached, we wouldn't be having this conversation, or if the ADU were over there, we wouldn't be having this conversation. And seeing the other setbacks from the other residences on the street, we're not talking about something that is an aberration here. So it fits with the community. The fact that it's a single-story house on that street makes it, very refreshing, because it seems like all the other houses around, including the one right across the street, is becoming a two-story house. And so I'm very pleased that they chose to continue to make it a one-story house and do the layout as they did. So I can support this project.
I also toured the property today and agree with a lot of those conclusions. The setbacks will be really congruent with every other setback there. It was surprising to me that the condominiums, it seemed like their patios were built at exactly the height of the fence, so that they had a clear view of the backyard at all times. An interesting choice. My one concern was that there wouldn't be enough room to replant all those lovely gardens that were all over the yard, but I'm sure that you will find space, I guess, in the front yard to compensate for the lost land there. I was a little bit worried that when that beautiful flower trellis came down, that there would be a bit of a view from back there, but the fence line, I think, really blocked. I peeked down the sight line of the house, and it seems like the windows, the only windows that are on the side of that house, are all the way down at the back past where the house line is, so I don't think there's going to be much concern there. And I think that it's reclaiming softer, there's a lot of concrete there today, and so reclaiming a lot of that into what should be softscape rather than hardscape, I think, is good for the look of the yard. So I can definitely support the project.
Thanks.
Yeah, I also went by the house. I didn't talk to the applicant or anybody, but I took a look at it. I think given the shape of the lot compared to the other lots and the fact that this is one where if you looked at it in different ways under the setbacks, we might not even have this issue, that it makes it easy to make the findings for the variance on the setback. Also, with regard to the demolition permit, the historic report was clear that there's not a historic issue here, so that's easy to make those findings as well. So I can easily support this project.
All right, very good. Yeah, the only thing I can add is I like the one-story aspect. So, and I thought the architect did a wonderful job at giving people what they want, made good use of the land for a one-story project. So, chose the right person, your right design. Very good. Do I have a motion?
I'm sorry, Planner Wolf.
Oh, I'm sorry. John.
Do the conditions of approval
Oh.
include the sidewalk?
We can-
No, they weren't written in, so have to be added.
They weren't written in, so we could add them. Do you want me to communicate with Director Semino before I do so?
Oh, is there an issue with?
No, as long as it gets added, it's fine.
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay, it's not a question of who builds it. It doesn't have to be built by the city, right? They can design it and pour it, their contractor? Is that?
The only reason I brought up communication with Director Semino is just because the requirement is not
In the public
it's not a
works section.
standard condition of approval, so I just wanted to talk with him and just
Okay.
for his understanding.
All right.
Is it not the public right of way? I mean, it is, so isn't it,
Go ahead.
from what I understand, when you pour a new apron for a driveway or whatever, the public works has to be involved somehow, and they have to use their concrete.
Yeah, city mix for the last 5 feet, something like that?
Yeah.
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 The first 10 feet of that property is public right of way, right?
Right.
So I do think the public works needs to.
Yeah, you'll get the Public Works involved for the new curb cut and driveway, so it'll just be part of that. It shouldn't
Yeah.
be any
But
extra.
it is the responsibility of the homeowner to put that sidewalk in.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, then I move that we approve variance 22-01 and discretionary demolition permit 22-02 with the condition added for approval of adding a sidewalk.
I'll second.
Seconded, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? It passes unanimously. Thank you. Excellent.
Thank you.
Good luck. All right. Great. Okay. So, nice meeting. I guess I'll go to planning commission reports. Anybody have anything on the agenda?
Do we discuss
We
this,
have one?
or we just
Wait.
take it
Oh,
and
I'm
file
sorry.
it?
Is there another one here?
We have just a
process.
discussion item. There's no
Sorry.
staff report to this. This is simply a staff presentation.
Okay.
And we'll go ahead and let our city attorney begin the presentation.
Land use decisions. All right.
Good evening, Planning Commission. Today I'm going to present about the modernizing of the public noticing process for land use decisions. This was a joint effort between a number of different departments, and I want to point out this is something that wasn't a state mandate. No, the state didn't require us to do this. This wasn't city council direction. This was staff trying to respond to residents' concerns about notice. Because as long as I've been an attorney, I've heard people say, I didn't get sufficient notice, or I got it too late, or I didn't see it, or whatever the case may be. So the city clerk's office, planning department with Director Gonzalez's leadership, information technology manager, and the city attorney's office got together to see what we can do to address this. So the current method for providing public notice under both our municipal code as well as state law, there are 4 separate methods. One is publication, and that's publication in newspaper of general circulation. Then you have your mailings that sometimes go out to residents within a 300-foot radius. And then you'll have your posting, and I'm talking about a posting in 3 public places. Or in the alternative, sometimes you also have a posting, and that's under the Sierra Madre Municipal Code, of a sign in front of the property. Of course, this doesn't include Brown Act noticing and other special noticing requirements under other special statutes. The issues with the current practice are as follows. First, state law preempts requiring an applicant to incur the cost of public noticing when there is no public hearing, which means you're not going to have the applicant paying for noticing for accessory dwelling units, urban lot splits, ministerial design review permits, density bonuses, and other projects subject to the Housing Accountability Act. And another obvious problem is that the existing methods reach a limited audience. Publication in a newspaper only reaches those people who read newspapers. Mailings only reach property owners, not residents, and only within 300 feet. Postings only reach individuals who stop to read the signs. So state law says that we can get creative. It says that in addition to any notice required by this section, a local agency may give notice of the hearing in any other manner it deems necessary or desirable. Staff felt it was desirable to do certain things differently, but before I get into it, if Planner Wolf would like to talk about different types of mailings and the examples we have here.
So as shown on screen, this is an example of a postcard one would get in the mail. This goes to property owners, not necessarily residents. So someone on the East Coast could be receiving one of these and they could think, what is this, you know? Not only that, but you can see how much text it has and how, desirable that is to read, which is not at all. That's just an example of what we would show for a public hearing item. We do have another template very similar to what an administrative review would look like. And that's what kind of similar it is, and that's what we would have as the example for a posted notice on site. So you can see it includes quite a lot of text in there. It has always had this much text, but recently, due to COVID, we included this QR code and started uploading all of the documents and relevant information to our city website. That QR code leads you directly to that.
Now we turn it over to Director Gonzalez to describe some of the steps we've taken.
So one of the methods the city staff identified to reach a broader audience was through social media postings such as Facebook and Instagram. And the city has made concerted efforts over the past 4 years to create a presence on social media platforms. And back in 2017, the city only held 5 social media platforms, and today the city has 12 across different departments and different platforms, including Facebook and Instagram. And what was determined was that this was a cost-effective way to reach a mass population. The content is visually engaging. We can control the message, and the message is more informative because we are not confined by the size of the postcard. And we can also provide the information in a method that reaches a broader audience. And the results are more immediate. People are on social media on a regular basis. And the information can be easily reproduced by using a template to upload documents to social media platforms. So the changes to the notices the city created are not necessarily legal requirements, but have been done in response to community feedback. And the notices in the past and currently continue to meet legal requirements. But it is our intent to remain transparent and provide public access to this information. And depicted in this slide is a sample public notice published on the city's Facebook page, where one can obtain project information by clicking on the embedded link. Next one. We also created a page on the city website where staff can upload public notices about planning entitlements. Next one. And we also plan to include the notices in the Village View newsletter that appears twice monthly. And links to the Village View are also posted to social media platforms, which allows easier access to planning projects from the public and which also reaches a broader audience.
Now, I'd like to emphasize everything we're doing here is in addition to the legal notices that we're required to provide. So this is all extra on top of whatever we're already doing. And now here's our one more.
Yeah, one more.
Apologies.
So in addition, we're also going to be posting notices or information about projects on the digital sign at Kirstein Court. The information about planning projects will also be displayed there, which was recently renovated, I wanted to mention, back by Bob Spears, who is also recognized as Citizen of the Year back in 2021. The information can be updated as often as needed, which makes it fairly easy to update the information, which would include not only the public notices, but other city information. And again, this is just another way we can dispense information to the public without incurring too much cost. And at this time, Associate Planner Wolf will now demonstrate the live website project showcase.
And before he does that, I just want to emphasize, we create one document, and that one document is shared on Facebook, or on the social media pages, shared on the website, shared here on the digital sign, and can be shared through the newsletter. So it's an efficient method.
Mhm.
So you'll see this map is a sample. It's a screenshot of what we do have live currently. It shows citywide projects, has revolving panels of different projects going on, and it has project-specific details. So I can show a live version of this right now.
Cool.
So you've seen the QR code several times. When you scan that with a smart device, it leads you to this web page on our city website, which can also be accessed by typing cityofsierramadre.com/projects. On this web page, you can see all the construction and development activity. And as I scroll down, you can see what our development activity map looks like. What's shown currently is just a small sampling of what all of the projects we have going on currently are. As an example, I can show you what this new single family at 62 East Carter would look like. Simply click it and you're zoomed right in on it. Additionally, if you scroll a little bit more down, you can see that we have a document container here that includes all of the information. You'll need to pay attention to the status of the project, this one being under construction. You'll want to move down to the under construction tab here, and you can see that we have more than one project. This one's 62 East Carter, and you can be linked to all of the agenda reports, meeting minutes, and exhibits for that project. I've also included in the side tab here short links to our transparency portal, as well as the Meadows project and other projects of higher intensity.
So the map you see here is for development projects. We're also working on one that's going to provide, it's the same concept, but it's going to be for filming permits, temporary use permits, and other projects on city property. And that concludes the presentation. Thank you.
So a question about the live version that you have up. There was construction being done directly across the street from the house that we saw today, but I didn't see it flagged as one of the listed projects there.
So moving forward, we do plan to show as many projects as we are able to, but not all projects will be on there.
Is there a limitation as to how many projects can be displayed?
No, if you'd like to discuss which,
So essentially what we're trying to place on here are projects such as ones that we see today that have entitlements, and also even ones that don't receive public notice or an opportunity for public engagement, such as an ADU. So we're showing things like that. And other projects, maybe they're smaller building improvements, we would not include those in there.
So if the kind of thing they just pull a building permit, that's not gonna go on?
Not entirely, no. Not unless it's a significant renovation or addition.
I think this is just fabulous. It really is good. I think that the notice cards that we send out that were required by state law look like junk mail, and I bet you almost nobody reads them. The ads that were required are in a field of other ads that nobody reads, so those are not helpful at all. So I think this is a really good innovation and very helpful. I think also the signs that we put on the properties are good. It would be good if we could try to police a little bit that when a project is done, that people take them down. Because one of the problems is you drive around town and you see the signs and you stop and you're like, oh, that was for a project last year. So if we can get people to take those down, that would be helpful. But I think the combination of this electronic stuff and the signs is really the best way to reach people. And also, neither one of those is very expensive, so I think that's a double win.
I agree. When I started on this commission, the notification was a 8.5 by 11 piece of paper that was posted somewhere, and Commissioner Hutt was the one that said, no, it needs to be something that is of significant size that you could see. And that's great. And I mean, just in the last few years, we had a incident on Santa Anita where people missed the notification and they created a fuss because the house was allegedly going to impact their view or something like that. And even though it had come to us twice, there was some push and pull. And so this would be, it's been noticed and in numerous ways, and the information is readily available. So I think it will also save the city some headache with people who claim that, why wasn't I told?
Great source of information. Hopefully this helps the public feel more aware of what's going on, and eventually, as they continue to be pushed towards these sites, that they will start to look there first.
I agree. Very good. Nice work. Thanks for the effort. Glad it's not me. Okay. All right. Now that brings us to Planning Commission reports. Anybody about?
The trail race is on the 28th. Everybody's invited. Starts at 7:30 at Sierra Madre and Baldwin. We will have a small contingent representing us. You're going to run it?
We'll see how my foot is. I still have drop.
There you go.
I have drop foot still, so we'll see. Maybe I'll hobble up.
Okay.
It'll be my not a PR, but my PU, PW, personal worst. But Alex beat me. You're gonna run, right, Alex? All right, good for him. Okay. Guess. Go ahead. Director.
So regarding the planning staff reports, our next meeting is on June 2nd. The public hearing that's scheduled is the Meadows of Bailey Canyon. It's continued from the May 5th meeting. Alex will be on vacation, so we'll have another attorney present, Matt Summers from the same law firm. And also I just wanted to point out that I will place the Meadows project on the agenda for every meeting of the month as we move forward. So it'll appear twice a month, and we'll see if we can address as many concerns from the commission and the community as possible. Also of note, I did receive, the people who did respond, your vacation schedule because of the upcoming projects that we have planned. And it looks like Chair Pevsner and Tom Dennison will be out at some certain days, but are you here the entirety of the time? And I know you'll be on vacation.
On the second.
Second week of June. And that concludes my report. Oh, yes. Also, we do have, going before the city, before City Council on May 24th, which is our next City Council meeting. The council will consider reappointment of Commissioner Spears for an additional 6-month term. And they're doing that so we have continuity regarding evaluation of the Meadows project.
Parole has been denied.
I want to bring something up or discuss, because we just got this thing in the mail today about the Conservancy. You sent a clarification. I wanted to try and understand the relationship of land ownership and the Conservancy's role by taking it on versus the city owning it, because, and I want to get into full discussion, but I just want to, since everybody's here, we can open to discuss it, and so if it comes up as one of our, because it's going to be one of our items.
Yeah,
but I
does it
wanna-
need to be agendized, or?
Yeah.
It should be agendized. I think if we're gonna have I'm happy to answer the question.
Yeah, I just
but-
want a legal,
but
yeah.
not a discussion about it. So to answer your question directly,
Yeah.
you did receive a letter from the Conservancy. It's because we reached out to them to inquire further as to what the issue was and to get a definitive answer from them regarding whether or not they're willing to take on a conservation easement. And their position is, if the city assumes the land, takes ownership of it, they will then accept a conservation easement recorded in their favor. If the city does not take ownership of the land, they won't accept it. And that's consistent with the discussion that we had with them the first time around. And the reason the city hesitated to take control of that land is because the city was concerned about any liabilities that might exist as a result of hikers or other people going onto that land unlawfully. Because currently, I believe there are no trails on those two parcels.
That's correct.
So the city was concerned about liability and therefore decided that we would leave ownership in the hands of the monastery, so the liability would lie with them, and the conservation easement would be recorded in favor of the city, so that we could limit any potential development that might occur on that site. That was the initial agreement. But I leave it to the Planning Commission to make a determination regarding whether it's best for the city to take that on, or for that to remain in the monastery's hands and we simply take on a conservation easement.
I'd like to request then we agendize that discussion.
As I believe it'll be it's part of your discussion on June 2nd for the discussion of the Meadows project.
And when you say the city decided, was that the city council, was that the former
City
city
staff.
council, city staff?
City staff.
Okay, thank you.
Just to clarify, because there was something thrown around about Santa Monica Conservancy versus our Conservancy. How does that differ in terms of who takes over the Conservancy? It's just one entity versus legal?
I don't know the answer to that, how they're different.
All right. It's just direct control. Very good. Okay, thank you. And,
That concludes our staff reports to the commission.
okay, terrific. All right, well then that concludes the meeting. We will adjourn to June 2nd. Thank you.
30 minutes left.
Mhm.
You want me to scribble in the sidewalk here and sign this? Don't sign me in, I don't have to print it up.